to come with her. Down in the basement, she pulled out a rabbit comic book. Though the images looked a bit strange, the content was still very ordinary. While Jeff was engrossed in reading it, the foster mother quietly raised a cane behind him. When Jeff woke up from his unconscious state, he found himself locked in the basement. The foster mother seemed to have had a confrontation with someone. As he was about to get closer to listen, there was suddenly a dull sound from above. Looking through the crack in the floor, he saw the foster mother had been killed. Blood even dripped onto Jeff's face. Just then, footsteps came from the stairs. Clearly, the murderer intended to kill him too. Luckily, Jeff had prepared. He successfully tripped the person with his belt and quickly scrambled up to escape. In his panic, he grabbed the car keys from the table and ran for his life. Knowing the assailant's weapon was still unknown, it was foolish to think of capturing him, and it was now clear that the boy, Robin, was the kidnapper in the rabbit mask. But he never expected that the phone left on the table would bring him such a disaster. After escaping the danger, Jeff brought the rabbit comic book to a collector friend. Upon seeing it, the collector immediately warned him to stop and stay as far away as possible, because this comic book was the embodiment of evil. By placing a mirror over it, the originally ordinary comic pages turned into terrifying demon images. And this comic had existed since the 19th century. Its main purpose was to blaspheme the divine. As for any other purpose, the collector didn't know. But just as Jeff was about to investigate further, bad news arrived. His informant and girlfriend had been kidnapped, but when he arrived at her apartment, it was too late. She was already dead, and on the bed was the phone he had accidentally left behind. Clearly, this was a revenge from the rabbit-headed man. Devastated, Jeff entered the bathroom and heard a strange sound. When he lifted the curtain, it was the rabbit-headed man, though he looked weak with a knife wound in his abdomen. When Jeff angrily told him to take off his mask, the man kept mumbling. He had been kidnapped. His name was Peter Lay. He was a doctor, and the murderer was his childhood friend, who was now the gardener at his home. More importantly, his wife and child were also likely to have perished at home. After saying this, the man fainted. When they arrived at the man's home, his wife and child had just woken up from a coma, and described that a man in a rabbit mask had forcefully drugged her and her daughter, but she wasn't sure if it was the husband's friend who was the gardener. Although that gardener was strange, not only did he have a weird appearance, but he also stared at them constantly. At the time, she thought the gardener was just envious of their life, but now, she realized he was a pervert. She didn't know the gardener's name, since all the matters were handled by her husband, but finding him shouldn't be hard, because he had a large birthmark on his face. However, at this point, Jeff no longer had the authority to use police power to be involved in this case, because it was no longer his case. He had only been investigating it for personal reasons, and he had already been sidelined by the police. The cause was still Lisa's kidnapping case, which he had been unable to solve for years. When frustrated, he started drinking, and the police only kept him around out of respect. But he was still the one most invested in this case, so he went back to the missing persons archive, determined to start from the beginning, because Robin